Hey there, paper geeks and glitter nerds. This is Senne, and this is a two-part video. You will get the next part in a week, but let's jump right into this. This is a kit I got for Christmas. It's supposed to make just Christmas decor or decorations for the tree, but I didn't want to make them because they don't fit with my style. But I figured it would be a challenge to make Christmas cards out of this paper, and it was. But also these papers, like you're gonna see them here, are great for masculine cards. Maybe not this dotted one, but the pine cones and the bark was perfect. And I did have to bring in a few things, since the kit is very limited. But I pulled out a few things I thought I might need, like some drops. I found some jingle bells, some sequins, tassels, and here are some sentiments, because the kit of course doesn't have sentiments because it was not meant to be for card making. So I'm just running through what colors I have here. And for the first card I wanted to make something with these strips. You're supposed to make stars out of them, but I don't have the patience for those. So here we go. I figured I wanted to do something with dimension, something that someone who may not see as well as others could enjoy the different textures of the card. These strips are a bit rough, and the pattern papers are very shiny and smooth, so there would be some difference you could explore with your fingers. So I'm just gonna make a weave of these. And I can't explain what I did because it's that simple. I taped them down, I glued them together, I put them on the card with foam tape. That's it. And using this grit just made everything so much easier. So I'll be back when that part is done. That did take quite a bit of time, but I do love the result of it all. Now I'm gonna bring in the first external product. It's circle dies. It's something I believe you should have in your stash pretty early in the crafting process, since they are so very versatile. I'm gonna cut out a piece of paper and die cut it, and you won't see that because I'll be off screen, but I cut it out so you don't have to wait for it. I don't know what to say about these stickers though. I don't like them that much. They're not very Christmassy in my opinion. But he just blended in too much on the background, this squirrel. So I brought in another die and this piece of cream cardstock. Now I actually didn't need to use it because there was a piece of cream paper in the pad. And when I was just gonna stick the squirrel on top, it didn't matter that the surface was shiny, but later on I'm gonna stamp some things. That'll be in the next video. That's when I bring in stamps. I tried to be very minimal about how many other products I brought in during the first 5 cards. Now, I sat down right after I opened the package to play with it. I didn't plan anything, so these first 5 cards are very, this is what I have, what can I do with it? There's no real planning. Whereas the next 5 cards, I had some time to think about it. I had some other things I had to do in my life, and so it took a few days before I came back and did the next 5. Here, this twine was in the package. I don't have this kind of twine anyway, so I thought it was quite neat. Very rustic, very nice. I'm gonna glue it on, and this glue, don't worry, nothing is gonna fall off this card, because this glue is serious business. But it was a bit plain, so I figured I'd put in this other pattern paper. There may only be 3 different kinds of pattern paper in this, but it was actually enough. And of course the sheets were A4, so they were pretty big. I had a lot of stuff to play with. Here I'm putting on a sentiment. It's gold, and it's gonna say, well, it's the equivalent of Merry Xmas, I'd say, since we have 2 versions of Merry in Danish, whereas you have 2 versions of Christmas, whereas one is shorter than the other, and this is the same point. This I had this pet peeve about the short versions, the Merry Xmas, and I actually have it from Keeping Up Appearances. That's what, not the Kardashians. Forget about those. I've never seen that show. Keeping Up Appearances. It's a British show about a lady who really wants to look posh, and she tells her husband that when he writes the Christmas cards, he should not write Merry Xmas. He should write Merry Christmas, because it was more elegant. And I have the same feeling towards these 2 versions of Merry Christmas in Danish, that I prefer the longer one. I think it looks more elegant, but for masculine cards I would say the shorter version is actually more appropriate. Now, card number 2. Don't worry, there'll be stills at the end of this video of the 5 cards I'm making, so you won't miss anything if you are concentrating on what I'm saying. And you shouldn't, really shouldn't, because I'm just babbling at this point about Christmas in July. Well, I pulled out a rectangle die, also something I would encourage you to have in your stash. I'd say circles and rectangles are the first ones you should get, and then you can get the squares and the ovals as the next ones, and then you can branch out to scallops and all the other weird things there are out there. Because you know, or you remember, that when you started out, money was possibly a factor in your investment, but these you will get so much out of. I love mine. The circles are from when I started crafting way back when, whereas the rectangles are newer, since I can finally buy metric rectangles. And those were rare when I first started crafting, and since I decided not to convert, to Imperial, I'm sticking by my metric system. Now, all these cards may not be the most complicated ones. Some, maybe the first one was a bit complicated, but this one is at least very simple. I have a panel of pattern paper, I have some banners, I have a focal point, and I'll have a sentiment in a bit. And I am actually impressed with how much of this foam tape I used during these 10 cards. That was pretty sick. I have to go buy more, but an excuse to go buy more. Foam tape isn't the baddest thing in the world, since that's where I'm gonna be picking up my new hole punch. So here comes the sentiment. I'm just, you see here, I'm peeling off the tiny things that are inside the O and the D in the good word, and then I think also in the loop of the J there's a tiny piece that I want, and I remove those before I remove the letters because it's easier. And it just needed a little extra, so it got a few stars. I think that's an appropriate embellishment for a masculine card. And I'm gonna glue the panel flat, and this will be the card number 2. Now here's the, it's not really dotted, it looks that way maybe to you, depending on how big your screen is, but it's actually tiny stars, star-like shapes. With that cream color that you also, I also have one sheet of only cream. I'm thinking about using some stickers. The reason why I'm closer to the camera at this point is because I'm standing up. I stand up to die cut, and sometimes I keep standing because it's nice for my back to change things up a bit. Now here you can clearly see what I'm doing. I'm taking out all the little parts that would otherwise be stuck in there, and then I had to try and get them out while I try to not crumble the sentiment. I always use a needle for this. So that's a good tip for you. And you didn't see me do the flag end of this banner. That's because my camera stopped recording. We're still fighting a bit about when we record and when we don't. I think maybe I found a solution to the seasickness thing I have going on, but I didn't test it out for this video. I'll be testing it out on the, well, to you it'll be the next video, since all of this project has been filmed at this point where I'm doing the voiceover. But I think I may have found out why I have the swimming problem with the camera. Maybe. Time will tell. Now I just have to fix the I don't want to record anymore problem. Yeah. Now I'm bringing yet another extra product. It's a Distress Ink in Vintage Photo. I couldn't help myself. I needed some difference between the different parts of this card. I was at this point still unsure how much paper I would use on each card, so I was a bit frugal with it. When I do the next 5, I'm gonna use more paper, and I'm gonna bring in some plain colors to do mats and layers for some of the cards, which really helps the pattern paper to stand out. But like I said, the first 5 I really wanted to try and just use the kit and as few products as possible on the side. So now we're ready for the card base. I'm just gonna have to snip off the top of this banner, and then I'm gonna ink blend the entire panel. And I peel off the foam as best I can so that the paper can go in paper waste and the foam can go in plastic waste. Yeah, it's a struggle sometimes, but it's all for good cause, right? That's what I tell myself anyway. And like you can see, I'm close to the camera, therefore I'm standing up. And here we are with card number 4. This is gonna take a bit of thinking. Looking at the card now, I wonder if I should have made some of these thinner and in varying thickness. That's something to try another time, I guess. Yeah, I just wanted to do something with those shapes that you're supposed to make into hearts, which you fill with candy, because it's a tradition that well, quote unquote, the tree is edible, and you're gonna eat it at the end of the evening, because we celebrate Christmas Eve, not Christmas morning. Christmas morning is when you hectically pack up the family to go eat some very absurd big lunch with the family, which is a whole other kind of thing. Yeah, we do it different. I'm uncertain whether or not others than the Swedes do it this way, or if maybe Norway is on the same traditions as the Danes. I'm not sure. We used to occupy them, so they got their independence pretty late, the way I remember it. I remember the date though, since that's my birthday. I'm not gonna tell you what it is. You can go Google the National Day of Norway if you want to know my birthday. But I have the background ready, and I'm contemplating what I'm gonna put on top and how I'm gonna put it on top, since I have a feeling that the lines are a bit crooked, but they shouldn't be, but maybe they are. You know that feeling? Here's the cream cardstock. I had one problem with it. It easily got scuffed. I had a few marks on it that I'm gonna have to try and hide later, but it was the better background for the sticker of the squirrel. I'm just gonna ink the edges of it because it's really, really white compared to the cream cardstock in the background. So he's gonna be nice. There. Almost. And another peel off sentiment. I actually forget I own these. I got them from my grandma. She used to do cards herself. She doesn't so much anymore, so I inherited all these peel offs and I never used them, since I like to stamp my sentiments. And I like something a bit bigger, I'd say, and maybe this is just too monochromatic for me. I don't know. I'm uncertain why it is, but they're good to have. I also have birthday ones and baptism ones and confirmation, and then I have some with images that I don't know what I'll ever use for, but I'll figure it out, I guess. They don't take up that much space in my drawer, at least. And this new year really didn't want to sit right. See, this card is gonna say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, since I had more space on this one and I was trying to hide these flaws on the front. I'm bringing back in this lovely twine. I might have to get some of this. It was very stiff to work with, but it had very nice texture. So I'm just gonna wrap it around here to the back, and then I'm gonna put some foam on the back side, because I can't glue it straight down because it's so thick, this twine. But some ink blending on the panel in the back, just to make it stand out from the strips that I have the exact same color as this panel. And then the foam tape. And then I didn't want a bow on this card, so I just tied the string because a bow might have been too much. If this is supposed to be a masculine card. I know I put a bow on one of the others, but that was the only embellishment on this card. And here I'm gonna put on some enamel accent in black tie. I didn't pick Nouveau drops because I only had white or clear, and clear wouldn't cover anything up. It would just enhance the fact that the paper had smudges or something on it. I don't know, it just really got stained easily. Moving on with the next card here, the last card for this video. And here I'm gonna use this mats and layers trick to make things stand out from each other. This is gonna be my focal panel. I'm playing around with the different scraps I have from the other projects. And here I finally realized that I could just trim off the white that was too much. I couldn't get rid of it all, but I could at least trim off the worst of it, since most of them were cut crooked. As most stickers are, you know this as well as I do. So that did minimize the difference between the image and the background, which was very lovely. I was gonna mount this, let's call it an arrow, an interrupted arrow. I was gonna mount it at the top of this panel, but I make a mistake and I glue it to the bottom, and I don't mind the mistake as much as I feared. You see. As long as I remember to do the other side at the same level, it doesn't matter as much. And I move the focal panel over so you see more of the background with the pine cones. And I opt for a white sentiment this time. I thought it stood up very nicely with the craft cardstock. And the craft actually had two sides. One was more reddish brown, than the other, and I opted for the not red version since I thought it went better with the other parts of the card. I don't think I've used the redder version of the craft at any point during this process. In my opinion, it is a bit early for Christmas cards, but then again, I always struggle to make enough before Christmas. So I'm gonna do a few projects over the next few months, trying to get ready. The year when I sent out most Christmas cards, I did, was it 36? Twice, since I sent a card with every card. For the recipient to send to someone else. Here are the 5 cards for this time, and we're gonna go through them with some stills also. I hope you agree with me that these turned out quite nicely. Not all the pictures were as flattering, since the gold text on this one, for instance, is not as good as I'd wanted, or this one. But the cards are very nice. Until next week, I hope you'll be having a good day, evening, or night.